Okay, well, hello everyone, and welcome to the JD LLM information session and panel. So thank you all for joining. I'm just making sure that all of our guests have signed in, making sure that all of our panelists and speakers are here and ready to go. So we're just passing the top of the hour. So I will go ahead and get started, but I want to start first with some virtual logistical types of comments. First of all, we are going in this session. We are in meeting mode. And being in meeting mode, that means that you will be able to see the presenters, and that will be important because we will have a panel session. But what I'm going to ask, so that it's a little less confusing for the attendees, what I'm going to ask is that all attendees, if you wouldn't mind turning off your camera and only showing your name, that would be helpful so that we'll know who the speakers are and are able to identify them more readily. Now, the speakers, feel free to leave your cameras on. And then in addition to that, I'm going to ask that everyone mute unless you're speaking. And that will make it easier for everyone as well. So again, if all of our invited guests would please turn your camera off and only show your name on your screen. And if everyone would mute, that would be wonderful, and only unmute when you're speaking. The other logistical point that I will mention is that it will be helpful to you if you view this in gallery mode, because we will have a panel shortly into this presentation, and that's going to be helpful for you because I'm sure as we talk about the JD-LLM program and as the invited faculty talk about the specialty areas, I'm sure the students and prospective students will be very interested in seeing their potential faculty member representation in that particular specialty area. So, so having it in gallery mode will help you in this presentation. The final note, logistically, that I will mention is that you can, at any time, feel free to note a question or even a comment in the chat. And we will be monitoring that throughout the session to respond to your questions. Okay? So let's see, I think we have a few people on. I do anticipate that others will be joining as we continue on. But, oh, and I'm sorry, one other thing that I should mention to everyone, we are recording this session. So just so that you're aware. And if there are any objections, then just let me know. Okay, so then, I guess I'm sorry, one more thing that I should note. As I alluded to, we do have some admitted students that are attending this session. And I just want to make it clear at the beginning, for our admitted students, you are more than welcome. This will be some good information for you, and we look forward to welcoming you to the University of Houston Law Center, to the JD program. But I do want to stress that application to the JD LLM program can only occur after you complete the 30th hour of your JD program. So although you are welcome in this session, just want to let you know that that application would only occur after your 30th hour in your JD program. And we'll get more into that a little bit later. But again, this will be very good information for you and certainly provide you with information on the LLM programs so that you can start thinking about it. And it's always good to be proactive. Okay, so then, so let's go ahead and get started. So I am going to share my screen so that you can see the, okay. So hopefully you see my screen. Is it, can people nod or wave if they're seeing it? Okay, good, thank you. And so, so first, I just want to provide you with an overview, a little agenda of what we will be going over today. So again, this is the JD LLM information session and panel. And so I will give you a short overview of the JD LLM program. And then we will have a wonderful panel, representatives of each of the specialty areas that will go over or provide you with information on each of those specialty areas. And then we will have Suzanne Gordon, who's going to go over the application process and something that we have, which is a course audit that Suzanne conducts with each of our students, and she'll go into more detail about that. We also have on this call our career development office. We have Assistant Dean Tiffany Tucker and the Associate Director Chandria Jackson, who will be going over the job opportunities and some of the pros and cons of an LLM program or doing that joint JD LLM. Then we will have about 15 minutes or so for questions and answer session, and then we'll close this session out. Okay? So, so again, I will ask that if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat throughout. So let's get into this joint JD LLM program. So the joint JD LLM program is something that we offer here at the University of Houston Law Center. It's an opportunity for our students who are in the JD program to take advantage of their time at University of Houston Law Center by not only completing their JD degree, but also completing their LLM degree and doing it in a way that's going to be a lot more beneficial for them cost-wise and time-wise. So, so again, it's an opportunity to complete both degrees at the same time. Now, it allows you to complete both degrees in a shorter amount of time because on average, by doing the JD LLM program, so doing both degrees together, you can complete that additional degree in about, generally about one additional semester. Whereas if you do them separately, it would take you full-time JD about 3 years and then an additional full-time 1 year to complete the LLM program. But doing them together, again, you can complete both degrees by doing one additional semester of study. It's also less costly because one, you're completing it in less time, but you're also on average doing an additional 15 credits hours of study versus the 24 hours that are required if you do the LLM by itself. So you're saving that cost. And essentially, in doing the two together, the JD LLM is earned after you complete 105 credit hours. Now, if you did it separately, it would be 90 for the JD, and then again, that additional 24 for the LLM. So that's really where the program, or how the program came into being, is really trying to find a way to benefit students by allowing them to do their JD and LLM at the same time, saving time and money. Now, getting a little bit more into the program itself, or the different programs, there are 5 specialty areas. Now, you might have looked at some of our information on our, you see that we note 6. The 6th one is the US law program for foreign lawyers. Okay, but we have 5 specialty areas. And those 5 specialty areas for our LLM program include energy, environment, and natural resources law, health law, intellectual property and information law, international law, and tax law. Those are the 5 specialty areas. Now, for each of those specialty areas, for the LLM program, you would be required to complete 24 credit hours. But again, by doing the combination JD-LLM, you can complete both programs with a total of 105 credits, meaning that for the LLM, you are essentially generally requiring 15 credit hours if you do it in combination with your JD program. As you can see, with regards to required coursework, there are certain programs that do require additional credit hours for that particular concentration, and that would be in health or in tax law. However, again, doing the JD-LLM program together, and as Suzanne will talk about shortly, with a course audit, and if you sign up early in your 2nd year of study, or even as you go into your 3rd year of study, we can work with you on the courses that you select to make sure that you are on track and on target for satisfying the requirements of whichever of the specialty areas you decide to engage in. So that, oh, and also there is the option of doing a thesis. It is not a requirement, but that is something that you can decide if you want to do it within the LLM program. So that is just kind of a brief overview of our LLM programs. Now I'm going to bring in the panel. So I am going to stop sharing and bring in our LLM panel. So, so what I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to welcome our panel. Thank you all again for joining and agreeing to participate in this session. I'm also going to ask all of the panelists, just remind the panelists that they need to unmute in order to speak. And so first, I'm going to ask that each of the panelists, each of the LLM specialty areas, that you introduce yourselves and also your program area. And I will just let anyone who wants to go first. How about Professor Uhr?
Okay, I'll unmute. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. I'm Mike Ewer. I mention that in an informal way because I like to think of my LLM students as my colleagues rather than purely students. I've been with the Law Center for a number of decades now, starting out as a student, but I'm also a physician. and I have worked for 40 years at the MD Anderson Cancer Center. Mid-career, I was doing a lot of work in ethics, so I felt I should know something about the law. Did my JD and my LLM at the University of Houston Law Center, and ultimately evolved into the position of the director of the Health Law LLM program. It's a wonderful program. It's a program that I think is tremendously stimulating. You'll hear a little bit more about it later. I also have degrees in business and in public health. So I give a broad view that I hope is very practical for our LLM students in health law. And as the program goes on, I'll be very happy to answer questions. And I'll turn it back to our moderator.
Thank you, Professor Uhr. Professor Warren.
Hello. It's great to see some faces out there. So I am Gina Warren. I'm a professor of law at the University of Houston Law Center now for 4 years, I guess. Before that, I was at Texas A&M and at Duquesne. And then before that, I practiced law at the Perkins Coie law firm in Seattle doing utility work. And so I am currently the incoming co-director for the Environment, Energy, and Natural Resources Center. And so I'm excited to be taking over that position. And I currently teach first year property, and then I also teach all the energy related courses basically. So I teach everything from renewable energy law to oil and gas law. And so I'm happy to be here talking about the program. We have a very spectacular program ranked top in the world for our energy and environment program. So, and then also Professor Wells is also on here. He's representing on a different LLM program, but he's also a very astute member of our ENER Institute. So give him a shout out as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Professor Warren. And then we will move to Professor Wells.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Brett Wells, and I've been with the Law Center 10 years. I'm a professor in tax law here. And before that, I was 20 years as in industry, as a corporate officer, vice president of tax, and a variety of other roles, mainly focused on corporate and international tax. But our program, would love to visit with you more about it. We have a very rich and wonderful program that has leading professors in the tax area.
Great. Thank you, Professor Wells. Professor Kaufman.
Hello, everybody. My name is Zachary Kaufman, and I'm a native Houstonian. I'm the faculty advisor for the International Law LLM program, and I teach international law, criminal law, and a course on international justice and atrocities. I've worked in all 3 branches of the US government and in 3 international war crimes tribunals, as well as at Google and O'Melveny and Myers.
Wonderful, thank you. And Professor Michaels.
I'm Andrew Michaels. I've been at the Law Center for 2 years now. I teach patent law, intellectual property survey, and statutory interpretation and regulation. Before this, I was at GW Law teaching for 2 years, and then before that, I was at a law firm in Silicon Valley doing mostly patent litigation. And happy to talk more about our IP program, which is very highly ranked, highly regarded. So obviously a lot of offerings there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. Those are our professors for our panel representing each of our specialty areas. And so now I have a question for each of you. And the question is, first taking into consideration that we have students on the line, many of them are thinking about the JD LLM program, but some of them are not quite sure what area they want to focus on. So my question to each of you is, what are some of the benefits of the LLM concentration in your particular specialty area? Okay, and is there anyone that wants to go first? If you wouldn't mind just waving, I can call on you. Anyway, okay, Professor Wells, thank you.
Well, I'll go first. I mean, I'm a strong proponent that you should do what you enjoy. So if you enjoy an area of the law and you're passionate about it, then you will run the race with endurance. And so I would strongly encourage that regardless of who you um, hear from today, that you really have some self-introspection about what area of the law is the most interesting for you. And that means different things for different people. One of the things about the tax area is that it's a complex area, a lot of nice complex puzzles that you need to sort through. And the LLM program gives you an opportunity to have enough exposure to different areas of that complexity so that you have a strong base to be able to learn on your own in practice. And so one of the things that I think is very valuable about a tax LLM is it shows demonstrated interest in the area and that you're ready to go as it is from an employer perspective, that you've got enough of a background to be able to be a self-starter in that area of the law. And so I think our tax LLM program has a very broad offering of courses, but the key point is to make sure that you have a depth of exposure so that when you face challenging questions in practice, you're going to be able to unpack those on your own.
Wonderful. Thank you, Professor Wells. Professor Kaufman, I think I saw your hand as well.
So as you all know, of course, we live in an increasingly interconnected world, and having a background in international law is therefore beneficial to almost anyone seeking to work in the global marketplace. As Houston is about to become the third largest city in the United States, is already considered the most diverse city in the country, has the second highest number of consulates in the United States after New York, is a gateway to Latin America, and is the center for both oil and gas and outer space. This is a perfect place to specialize in international law. We have a wide array of course offerings and an extremely distinguished faculty in both public and private international law.
Wonderful. Thank you, Professor Kaufman. Professor Warren.
So the environment, energy, and natural resources LLM is very special because we're located in the epicenter of energy, right? So Houston is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cities in the world for energy and environment, which always go hand in hand in natural resources law. And so when we're thinking about finding jobs and finding areas that are of interest for potential employers, energy and environment, natural resources is a huge one, particularly globally and particularly in Houston. Our LLM program, we have access to 25 adjunct and full-time professors in our program. We have, I don't know, there was somewhere around 50 classes you can take. I'm not sure what the current number is, but it's a lot. It's a significant number of courses you can take. And a lot of people who are very, very highly regarded in their area. And we also, as I said earlier, we have professors who are dedicated to climate, to renewables, to oil and gas, to petroleum, specifically to international, to everything, right? So we have the whole breadth. And so specializing in an ENER area would definitely demonstrate commitment to this for future employers and give opportunities where you know, you might not get as many of these great chances if you didn't have this LLM program and certificate degree. So.
Great, thank you, Professor Warren. Professor Michaels.
Okay, well, yeah, I agree with Brett that you should do what you're interested in. And so I'm not going to spend too much time trying to convince you to be interested in IP and information law, because there are plenty of reasons to be interested in it. So I don't think it needs too much of that. But there's just so many courses that UH offers in this area. So just looking at next semester, there's, aside from what I teach, which is IP survey and patent law, there's also IP for tech startups, entertainment law, copyright law, communications law, trade secrets. All of these look interesting to me. So, and that's just one semester. So the thing is, they're just not. I mean, one reason you might want to do, consider doing an LLM is there's just not enough time to. And a lot of these are taught by leading practitioners as adjuncts, as well as the excellent faculty that we have here. So there's just not enough time to take. If you're someone who finds this stuff interesting and thinks those courses sound interesting, then doing an LLM would give you more time to take more of those.
Wonderful. Thank you, Professor Michaels. And Professor Uhr.
Well, I think this is a wonderful discussion, and not wanting to duplicate what's already been said, of course, a fundamental interest in the field is among the most important considerations, or perhaps the most important consideration. Houston is the center of perhaps the world's largest medical center. One of the things that we share with our students on the first day of class is that in the United States, we spend considerably more as far as a percentage of our gross domestic product on healthcare than we do on food. And that incorporates everything that's also spent in restaurants and in vending machines. So this is a huge industry. From the point of view of where students go after finishing an LLM, there are really very, very broad opportunities. There is compliance, there is in-house attorneys, there are risk managers, there are ethicists, and in all of those categories and a number of others, there is a role for health law attorneys who have demonstrated an interest. The health law LLM provides a demonstrated interest in health law so that people will not have the risk, that is, employers will not have the risk of candidates coming in and saying, well, I've been here now for some months and health law really isn't my thing. Having achieved the certification and the credentials of an LLM is broadly important. There are huge changes, there are mergers, there are acquisitions in healthcare, and attorneys are playing an ever-broadening role in that. Our program has a great diversity of different courses, from fairly elementary ones that look at surveys of health law to focused areas including compliance, the HIPAA rule, public health law, and things of this type. So there's ample opportunity to find a niche during the LLM program, and our faculty is eager to mentor. As you heard a few moments ago, the thesis requirement is no longer current, but we do encourage our LLM students in health law, should they be interested, to write a publication level paper, and we certainly have a reasonable track record in getting some of those published. And I'm around to answer all kinds of questions, so don't hesitate to include me in your questions and let me help put this program into the proper and really wonderful perspective that it is.
Thank you, Professor Uhr. Well, I have another question for the panel, and that is, and I will, and I'm sure that in the course of teaching, you guys are able to kind of put yourselves in the shoes of the JD students. So kind of reaching back and thinking about your own experiences as a JD student and recognizing some of the questions that they might have about entering into this LLM program. So taking, you know, that kind of perspective on it, what can students expect if they decide to pursue an LLM in your program? And in particular, what kind of interaction can they expect? What kind of opportunities and anything like that that they can expect by engaging in your LLM program? And do I have any volunteers? Okay. Oh, thank you. Well, Professor Uhr?
Okay, one of the things that we do, our program is of the appropriate size that we treat everyone as I mentioned before, as colleagues. Everyone has my cell phone number. People who are in the program call, and it's a mutual learning experience. I, of course, learn from my students as well as try to mentor them and guide them. This program, at least in the LLM group, is something where we want our students, on the one hand, to be aggressive in their learning goals, but to do so in an informal way so that as they join the workforce, they have the broad experience in mutual interactions. Additionally, we offer them an informal opportunity to have mentorships in some of the hospitals in the Texas Medical Center, so that when they come out of the program, they feel not as students who have academic learning but no skills or very few skills and little experience. We want them to come out of the program ready to hit the ground running in their professions and in their fields. And it's my personal philosophy that we can achieve that better in an environment where the students and the faculty are on a much more even footing than they are in a purely JD program.
Wonderful, thank you. Anyone else want to offer any comment? Professor Wells.
So what I would say here is our program, we have more than 20 plus courses that are at upper level classes that you can take. And it's a great opportunity for you to get to know some of the leading partners in town in the tax area. And so your networking opportunities are there to be had. It's a small enough program where, and large enough, but small and large in the same breath, that you can get to know your professors. So what I would suggest is this, is you should be very proactive in reaching out. You may not, and your professors would like that. We want pushy lawyers. We want people who are demanding to get what you need. And what you will find in our program is that those that are part of the program are very interested in coming alongside you and helping you where you express where you need help, whether that's in the class, whether it's contacts in the city or otherwise. But what I think that you should expect is you should expect a ready helping hand, but you need to be vocal in how we can help you. And so that's what I would suggest when you first start out is reach out to several faculty members, the adjuncts and others, and let us understand what your particular story is and path and help us come alongside that. Those that are less aggressive in that, more passive, it's more difficult to meet an unspoken expectation. And so that's what I would suggest, is that you should expect the faculty, including our broader adjunct faculty, are very eager to help you in your journey through this program. But we are much more able to meet your expectations when we know your expectations.
Wonderful, thank you. And Professor Warren.
So I think that a lot has already been said, and I would agree with all of that. And it is important to get to know your professors who are in these areas that you're interested in for many different reasons that have been well expressed here. I think a couple of additional points that I would add for the ENER program in particular is that we are a program that only requires the 15 additional credits, so you can do that in one semester. And as an LLM student, you would have priority for registering. And that's important for us because some of our classes are super small, right? And so it's possible that you weren't able to get into a class, or the timing was bad, or whatever it was of a class you would really like to take. And so the LLMs having priority access to these classes gets you to where you can actually take those specialized courses that you really would like to be involved with. And that also leads to therefore being more engaged with your professor, either a full-time professor for the ENER program, or for our massive number of adjuncts who are specialists, who are the practitioners who are out there that you might end up becoming, employed with one of their companies, right? Or their law firms. And so this is just a great opportunity to get a lot more exposure to the specialized areas that you were interested in that you might not have gotten as much access to. Another thing is that I highly recommend writing a thesis paper or doing a seminar that would produce a publishable paper, because I think that it sets you apart. And I think that employers are really looking for this. I was talking to Professor Hester earlier about ideas of things he might like me to include in this type of a presentation. And he was saying that how the thesis paper was really a big deal for him, and him getting his first job after his LLM. And so if you weren't able as a JD student to have a publishable article in particular, this is another opportunity to do that. And so you can work closely. You can either do it through a seminar, or you could work closely through independent study with your professors and get a great paper that would be helpful for you for your future. So I think that's what I had.
Wonderful, thank you. And Professor Michaels.
Yeah, so there's a very vibrant IP practitioner community in Houston, which you could get involved with. So there's the Atlas IP and of Court, as well as the Houston IP Law Association. And there are ways for students to get involved in both of those. And it's a great way to meet a lot of the top practitioners in the area, and some of them are teaching as adjuncts at UH. So it would increase your opportunities to get to know them and get sort of integrated into that community.
Wonderful, thank you. And Professor Kaufman, do you have anything else that you'd like to add at this point?
Sure. So as others have said, I mean, you would take at least 15 credit hours in international law courses as part of your minimum 24 credit hour requirement for the LLM. In the international law program, we're happy to offer courses that are comprehensive and we think pretty cutting edge. And we also think the faculty and students are pretty distinguished and diverse, and it's worth noting that many of them are from overseas. And just to give you a sample of sort of some of these courses, they include anything from immigration law, international arbitration, and international tax, to human rights, national security, and NAFTA. And just because nobody else sort of has mentioned it yet, I thought I'd add that LLM students can participate in our various student organizations. U of H boasts lots of such groups in international law, including the Houston Journal of International Law, which is one of the top ranked international law journals in the country, as well as the International Law Society. And also, I'm obviously biased, but I also want to mention that our international law faculty is really warm and approachable, and always eager to help students and engage with them and facilitate networking for jobs and other opportunities.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all. I think this has been some really good information for the students. And if I might just highlight a few of the points that I heard across all of the different programs. First, obviously, just an incredible and very impressive array of faculty members that cross all of the different programs, faculty members that are eager to help, that are available and accessible, warm, and really there to assist students as they continue on their journey. Also, something that I want to point out to our JD students is that it is doing the LLM program is not is simply an extension of your JD program. It really is allowing you to concentrate, to focus, to get in depth in a particular area of your choosing. So it really is a great opportunity for you to really take advantage of the upper level courses that are available in the particular concentrations. So, and also, I think another thing that several of the faculty mentioned is the thesis. Typically in your JD program, you're not going to opt for, for that extra, a thesis paper. So it really is an opportunity for you to do a publishable quality paper and actually seek to have it published. I can't tell you how important having that type of accomplishment on your resume really is. So it is something that you want to consider, and by doing this LLM program, it really sets you up to do that. So, so thank you to our panel, and our panel will stick around because we will have a Q&A session shortly. But what we're going to do now is go into having Suzanne Gordon, our interim director of the Graduate Legal Studies program, tell us about the application process. So I'm about to share my screen once again. Okay, and okay, do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. All right, now, application process.
Okay, so some of you I have been working with, or I've already reached out to in previous communication about this program, so I'm glad to see you here, because some of you kind of fell off and never got back with me. But we do a direct application process, so you don't have to go through LSAC, so you don't have to pay any additional fees or whatnot that's associated with LSAC. So a complete application includes the application, which is about 3 or 4 pages long. It requires also an up-to-date resume or CV and 2 letters of recommendation. Those materials can be submitted back to our group email address, which is llm@uofh.edu. And once that process is done, then I will just keep in communication with you where you stand in that application process once it's complete, when it's gone to the admissions committee, and then of course respond back to you once the admissions committee has reviewed your application for consideration to the program. Also in that process, if you could go to the next slide, Karen, what I do is try to plot your degree plan in the number of hours that you have taken while you're in the JD program, which
Sorry,
courses that
stubborn.
which you will
I don't know why it's not moving. There we go.
all right. So it's to give you an idea of where you stand every semester in the program to complete your JD 90 hours, as well as the specialty credits for the concentration of the LLM program of your interest. It'll also keep you online to know when you're going to get to that priority registration that Professor Warren was talking about as an LLM student, and having first dibs in selecting courses as well. So, and it also keeps you on track so you know before the registration opens up for the next period what you still need to get both your total JD credits as well as your LLM credits. So from the moment that you start that application, we try to work with you just so you know where you're going, because of course the sooner you start this process, the easier it is to figure out which courses you want to take and to reach out to those faculty members in that specialty area to help plan it out for you. Anybody have any questions about that process? Just feel free to put that in the chat. Yes, it is possible to do a dual degree, and that's a great question. I'll have to specify, check the exact number of credits. I don't want to give you the wrong amount. There is an ability to double dip into concentration credits, but I believe that's limited at 6. So if you specialize in, say, the international or the energy, and there are courses that will cross over into both of those, you'd be able to pick up at least 6 credits that would qualify for both of those.
And we will be able to address additional questions during the question and answer session.
Yeah, but I will actually look up specifically how many credits that is for dual, joint, JD, LLM to figure out exactly what that is. I don't know if it's a strict 30, because then that would be double 15. It may be less than that, but I'll have to follow up with you on that outside of this.
Okay. Are you all set, Suzanne?
I think so, unless anybody had any additional questions.
Well, we'll get to those in the question and answer session. So thank you, Suzanne. Okay, so now we'd like to hear from our Career Development Office. We're during this, the current COVID-19 situation. I know that a lot of people are kind of rethinking what they're doing right now, or what they plan to do. And so that's part of the reason why we're having this session. And we have invited our Career Development Office to share in some of the pros and cons of engaging in a JD-LLM program at this point, or considering a JD-LLM program at this point. So Tiffany Tucker and Chandria Jackson are here, and take it away.
Oh, good afternoon. It's nice to see you all. I also, like Suzanne, seen a couple people that I've talked to about this program before. I am the Associate Director in the Career Development Office, and I also work exclusively with the LLM students. So I have an opportunity to talk to them about their experiences. And I would say all professors have really touched on some of the positive career aspects of seeking the JD LLM program at this time. It really signifies to employers that you have the ability to hit the ground running in a particular subject matter, which shortens the time it will take for you to be a subject matter expert, which will be very important in the job market that we are going into, as we don't know how long this situation will last. I would say, which is both a pro and a con, is that it gives you an opportunity to specialize. It's a pro because, like I said, it shortens the time occurred for you to become a subject matter expert. But I see it as a con because I often see students who want to rush through the program. And so if you're going to approach the program, I think you should do it in a time frame that gives you the opportunity to develop those core skills that make you a well-rounded, competent lawyer, and then build up on those skills by seeking the specialty programs and specialty coursework that's available in each of the different programs. Another pro of approaching this right now is that it extends the time that's available to you to both build your practice expertise while you're in school. And so if you have that extra semester in school by finishing in December instead of May, for example, you get potentially an additional summer where you can get additional experience working in a law firm or working in another one of the clinics or doing an advanced research project. It also gives you an additional semester to seek out long-term employment, which could further shorten the time frame, so to speak, or excuse me, it could make you more marketable by having this additional experience to pile on or to add to the additional coursework that you're going to take. I think if you're going to seek out the JD LLM, like Professor Wells and Professor Warren said, and Professor Ewer, it's very important for you to develop relationships with the professors, to express your interest, to tell us, CDO, and to tell them what you're interested in to make it valuable for you. And here's the con, is that students may get the false impression by having this additional degree that jobs will fall in your lap, and that's just not the case. You have to be proactive, you have to seek out the opportunities, you have to make it work for you to show the employers that you are going to be assertive and advocate for yourself within the system as an example of how you will advocate for clients in the future. That's a good bit of the pros and the cons. Obviously, the cons is a little bit more money, but at this time, it's an investment well served because you have the opportunity to shorten the curve to make yourself an expert and getting the additional writing exposure, possibly getting the publication, which is just another one of those things that can really help you distinguish yourself in the market.
What?
I'm sorry, Karen.
No, you go on.
With respect to, Suzanne spoke about the application requirements. And so one of the application requirements is 2 letters of recommendation. We do provide guidance and can help you prepare the letters of recommendation. What that means is that before you go to someone who may be able to prepare recommendations for you, we kind of have a rubric that you can follow to make the process easier for them, to give them the application materials that you're going to submit. If they're your resume, for example, to show what your interest has been in the subject matter area, to show the type of work you have given, and just to give them a short summary of why it is important to you to pursue this degree at this time, and a brief outline of what the letter recommendation can look like. So when you give it to them, all they need to do is edit and update based on their experience with you. So we can talk about that further in a one-on-one session, but I wanted to make sure that you all knew that that was available.
Thank you. Very important points. Thank you very much. Tiffany, would you like to add anything?
Sure. I think all of the points have been very well stated. I can't express enough how engaged the professors are. They reach out to us on a very regular basis about opportunities to brainstorm ways to create opportunities, and they know the students. So everyone has said this, but I'm going to emphasize it again. Get to know your professors. Make sure they know who you are. Make sure they understand your goals. I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten an email or a call from a professor saying, hey, I just got a call from a former student who's looking for
a particular student who has these types of attributes. I'm thinking of a few, but I want to reach out in case you guys know a few. It's always best if your professors and our office, if we understand your goals and what you're interested in, because we're constantly brainstorming about how to help you reach those goals. And we can give constant, timely advice about how to best reach them, and also utilize all of the rest of our resources. Because even if you are interested in one particular thing, one particular area, say the market doesn't support that, we can help you brainstorm about the types of opportunities that you can avail yourself to that will help to develop you as a lawyer to be ready for that ultimate step. So those are the types of things that you get, this collective fund of knowledge about these industries, about these practice areas, about the legal market, that you may not be aware of simply because there's no reason to be aware of it before it becomes important to you. Well, this is our life. You know, our job is to make sure you reach your goal. We've all reached ours. We all love what we do, right? So we want to help you to do the same. And the more we know, the more we contact, we're in contact with you, the more we can assist you with doing that. We don't have a magic wand, of course, but we have a lot of tools in our toolkit to be able to help. So just know that all of the services that JDs get, LLMs get as well, right? So you're not just another, body in the seat just because you're in the LLM program, because your success is also our success. And we take it very, very seriously. And we want to assist us as much as possible. So I would implore you, if you're considering the program, think about all these pros and cons, make the best decision for you, right? Because it has to be something that's going to work out with you. But see, sometimes you can't make that best decision until you get all this information. So go.
Hey, Sid, you're muted.
I just said, yay, LLM program. That's pretty much all I said. Didn't realize that.
Okay. Okay.
Do it if it works for you, is basically all I said. Sorry about that. I just basically said, reiterating what everyone said, the professors here are amazing, and please, please, please be on their radar, get to know them about your goals, as well as our office, because that's the main way that we can help you. And just know that your success is our success. So we take it very seriously. And if one point doesn't work, if one outreach doesn't work, don't let that stop you. We all get hundreds of emails every other day. So follow up, because we actually do want to engage.
Thank you, Tiffany. Just as we look to go into any additional questions that anyone has, excuse me, just wanted to remind you, in case you have, oh, I'm sorry, Professor Uhr, I see you waving.
I'm waving. I want, in listening to everyone, I want to make one very, very quick comment. And that is that I'm actually a diplomat of the Health Law LLM program. When I went through it, I had lots of questions. I had lots of insecurities. Why am I going through another year of law school? What am I going to get out of it? All of these questions. Why am I spending additional monies? What is this going to lead to? As a result of finishing the program, I had publishable papers in this field. I was invited to become a faculty member of not one, but now 3 law schools and other institutions of higher learning where I've been able to teach health law. This has been something amazing for me. I didn't do it in my 20s. I did it a little later in life. But I need to share a tiny bit of this energy and enthusiasm that has absolutely changed both my opportunities and my outlook, and was an incredible benefit of having made the decision to do it. So I know this isn't an autobiographical discussion and meeting, but I really wanted to say that, yes, I went through this, I did it, and boy, am I glad I did. Sorry for the editorialization, but I did want to make that comment.
No, not at all. Thank you very much. I think that was those were very important points that you made, and I'm sure everyone appreciated hearing about that. So thank you, and thank you again to all of our panelists, speakers, faculty, CDO office, Graduate Legal Studies office. And I also want to make sure that any of the students or any of the attendees who are on the call, if you have not visited the JDLLM webpage, there is a lot of the information that we've talked about, but also additional information as well as testimonials from former JDLLM students that are on that page. And you can get to that page by visiting the main University of Houston Law Center webpage under admissions and scroll down to the bottom, JDLLM admissions, I think is the formal name. So JDLLM. So under admissions, JDLLM. And finally, I know that we answered a lot of questions as we went along, but certainly, Suzanne, do you see any additional questions in the chat at this time? I tried to take a quick look, and I don't know that I noticed any more.
No, not at this time.
Okay. Then with that being said, and we are just crossing the top of the hour, I want to thank you all for attending and look forward to hearing from you with regards to your decision with regards to the JDLLM. And certainly, if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to the Graduate Legal Studies office by sending an email to llm@uh.edu. We will be happy to get back with you and answer any other questions that you may have. Again, thank you to all of the presenters, faculty, CDO office, Chandria, Tiffany, and Suzanne with the Graduate Legal Studies office. And everyone, take care, be safe, and stay healthy.